Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Time to Thrive podcast. I'm Haley.
And I'm Anna.
And we are your hosts, and we're so excited that you joined us here today. And so this is our last episode of the month, which means we get to answer some of your questions. So we just have a couple for us today, and if you would like any of your questions answered, you can leave them anonymously through our Google Doc that's linked in our Instagram bio, or if you don't mind us knowing who wrote the questions, you can comment them or send us a DM. We won't mention your names or anything in the episodes, but we still love to answer your questions. So let's get started.
All right. Do you want to go first?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So the question is, how can I prepare for marriage while I'm single? So I am single, very single, but one thing I do desire marriage one day. I pray that is something that God has for me one day. And so nothing too crazy, but one thing that I do, I can't remember when I started doing this, but years ago, whenever I made a list of qualities that I want to look for in a godly man who I potentially may marry one day, I remember someone said, if you can't hold yourself to that same standard, why are you holding that to someone else? And so everything that I had on the list, then I went back through and I was like, okay, am I also able and capable of being these things? Am I striving to also be these things? Because why would I expect someone to sacrifice and be this almost perfect version of themselves for me if I'm not also going to do that for them? Yeah. So that's one thing that I go back and look through my list periodically, especially if there's anything that I either change or think of, or sometimes just I go through and just pray over it too. But I always, it's a good way to keep yourself accountable, because you never want to hold someone else to a standard that you're not also willing to hold yourself to.
Yeah. I'd say, I want to think when I was single, so when I was not dating and was not engaged, and then I'll go on to other, but I'd say when I was single and it was only me, I'd say one of the big things, actually, I think you may have done this too, I don't know, I think in a class or something one time, we wrote a letter to our future, or maybe it wasn't a letter, it was something what we want in a marriage, what we want from a man, or not what we want from a man, but what we want a godly man to be, or the things that, but it was also things that we needed to grow on, the type of woman we want to be. And I'm pretty sure it was with Mom. Maybe it was either a conversation I had with Mom or a class that we did, and it was, yes, you should be seeking a man who is godly, all these different things, but kind of like Haley said, is you also need to be working on yourself as well, because some of the things that I did is I would pray for my future husband, pray for him to not fall into temptation, for him to be protected, for the Lord to help him, whoever that may have been. And so I would constantly pray for my future husband, but also there would be areas that whether my parents would point out and say, hey, you've really got to get this under control, because when you do get married one day, this is going to be really, really difficult, and you're going to need, whether it was my attitude, whether it was things that I was in routines and I was just used to doing, and having encouragement from them, and at least enough hindsight for them to say, hey, you are going to be a wife one day, and you really got to get this in check, and they were there to help me. But as far as in dating, that is the hardest thing. Some people are oh, it's so great, which it was great. I mean, yeah, for sure. You have this person you could talk to, they're interested in you. Oh my gosh. That was the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life. Not because it was we had all these trials, nothing like that, but I am so selfish, and you bring another person who is so selfish, just in general, as humans we are, and you learn so much about yourself, and it's oh my goodness, we dated for 3 years. I am so blessed that the Lord helped us, and we grew so much together. We were patient with each other, but if you really want to be committed to someone and you really love someone, love is not the only thing that's going to help you through. If God is not there, you will not be able to make it. You can maybe put a ring on it. You can maybe say I do, last a few years, but you will not be fulfilling anything if the Lord is not in it. And so, of course, like in dating, like it's so difficult whether you have temptations as a couple or whether you have, like I said, you're just selfish and you're learning stuff about yourself. I would say that in dating, but also like in engagement, like we're going to like marriage counseling. That has been super eye-opening. Since you've been dating, you've kind of like, you've got to know the person a lot more, and just hearing somebody else's perspective is like so important. Somebody else's perspective, which I talk about that on a whole other episode, but I don't know if that answers the question.
I just thought something else.
Yeah.
Not to sound cliche, because it probably does, but really like focus on your intimacy with the Lord during this time, because I was talking with my mom about this actually, that like I desire marriage. I want to be a wife and a mom one day. And I was telling her something, and I was like, when am I ever going to have this much time to myself in my life ever again? Because once you are married, once you do become a wife and a mom, you're never going to have that much free time to yourself like you will. And I was, why waste this time when you could be using it to honor the Lord, to grow in your faith? Because like I have friends who are married and who do have kids, and we've been talking, and they're like, I'm not able to spend as much time like studying the Word as I used to, just because like life gets busy. You have a family to take care of, you have a household to steward, and so if you like, I think growing personally in the Lord, especially with the time that you do have, I think is also another way that you can really prepare, because strengthening your relationship with the Lord is definitely like very important. But then if your relationship with the Lord isn't strong, and then you step into a relationship with someone else and you're trying to keep the Lord at the center, but the Lord's not the center of your life, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So I think that's another,
Yeah.
it's kind of cliche because people say that a lot, but it is really true, I think.
No, that's good. And like going off of that, I'd say like, I mean, from experience, like having a relationship with the Lord and my fiance having a relationship with the Lord as well, it makes it so much more, because you've learned so much about like yourself when you're growing with the Lord personally. Like He reveals stuff to you, and you're growing, and like, yeah, it again, we talked about it in the different episode, Haelle's topic about like friendships. Like no matter how different you are with your partner, whether you're dating or married, you're going to be different. Like you're going to have different things, but like if you're united in your relationship with Christ, then you really can get through anything. But yeah, definitely, for sure, like having your relationship with Christ. I would also say another thing, like work on your communication skills when you're single. Like work on, if you have a friend or like y'all are disagreeing on something or you're struggling, like really like work so hard of like, I'm going to figure this out. We're going to get through this. I value this friend. Like work on your communication. Like if you disagree with your family or your parents, like be so determined to allow the Lord to work at your words and be determined to get through hard times, not just by sitting back and be like, you know what, whatever.
Yeah.
Like actually doing the hard stuff and be like, I'm going to bring up this topic. I'm going to say sorry. I'm going to say, like, because you're going to have to do that over and over and over again. And like, if you do it now and you learn that, it's going to be so much easier when it comes along. I feel like that's cliche too.
But no, it really
like,
is, because like there's been situations in my life where I've had to do that, and like they suck. Like being in that situation, being in a disagreement with someone that you really care about, but then also having to be like, no, like I did mess up, and like having those hard conversations because you value that person more than just walking away. Like like even in friendships, like you don't want to walk away, even though there's no like actual like commitment or ties between you. But if you really value that person, you're not going to just walk away when one little thing gets hard. And so I think that's one way I think the Lord's grown me some, is through situations with friends and even family like that, where things come up and you have to tear down that pride, and but also be willing to forgive as well. Like if a friend does something towards you and they come to you, also being quick to forgive as well.
Yeah, and like we look for unconditional love like in our marriage or dating or want that, but like showing unconditional love like to your friends and your family too.
I think that's a good practice before stepping into like a romantic relationship, is how are your relationships with your friends and your family as well. It definitely, I think it gives good practice, because it's very similar to like a relationship you have when you're dating, except just like different feelings. Obviously, it's for a different person, but you still go through life together. You're still gonna have difficulties and disagreements with each other. You're not always gonna like that person, but definitely I think it's very good practice for us who are single to cultivate those relationships.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for joining us, and we hope to see y'all next on the next podcast that we have. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then comment anything if you found anything in this topic or maybe other topics you want to see or anything like that. But yep, we will talk to y'all later. Bye.